Good morning, everybody. Welcome back to the show. This is another episode of the All Around Growth Podcast, a show that provides insight and tools to building the life and homestead of your dreams. My name is Rob Kaiser, and I am your host. Today is October 20th, Wednesday, October 20th, and this is episode number 210 of the show. I mistakenly referred to yesterday's episode as number 210, and if anybody caught that, good on you for catching that. I did not until the episode was over. Now that the mornings are dark, I want to pull up through the clearing where it's a little bit easier to see, and I've avoided all people and obstacles back by the barn. Oftentimes in the morning hours, I'm running into Cody or my parents or somebody back there. But today I decided to grab the rudder of the day, written by Dan Miller, author of 48 Days to the Work You Love, because we haven't read from this in a while. And we're going to talk about the mastermind principle. Here's a powerful source of insight, understanding, and ability to accomplish your goals. One of the most powerful groups I've ever been connected with has been a reading and study group that we call the Eagles Club. What we have seen in let me reread that sentence. What we have seen in idea development and personal growth has been nothing short of astounding. In Napoleon Hill's timeless classic, Think and Grow Rich, he talks about Andrew Carnegie's secret of success. Carnegie had a mastermind group by which he surrounded himself with the advice, counsel, and personal cooperation of other businessmen. The mastermind is defined as, quote, coordination of knowledge and effort in a spirit of harmony between two or more people for the attainment of a definite purpose, close quote. Hill further adds, quote, no two minds ever come together without, thereby creating a third invisible, intangible force which may be likened to a third mind, close quote. A friend is someone who knows the song in your heart and sings it back to you when you have forgotten how it goes. The Eagles Club is 11 guys who have been meeting together each Wednesday morning for several years. We select great books in advance and we take turns leading the discussion. But the real power is not in learning new information as much as it is in relating to each other's lives in ways that people seldom experience. We read together, share personal applications, pray for each other, and are available at any time for help or counsel. Quote, the glory of friendship is not in the outstretched hand, nor the kindly smile, nor the joy of companionship. It is in the spiritual inspiration that comes to one when he discovers that someone else believes in him and is willing to trust him. Close quote. Ralph Waldo Emerson. I see many people struggling to develop an idea, a business, or just their personal growth without taking advantage of this principle. I have always been fascinated with the concept of synergy, that phenomenon whereby the total equals more than the sum of the parts. Example, 1 + 1 = 3. This may not hold water with the mathematicians, but conceptually it does make sense. We are told that one Belgian horse can pull about 8,000 pounds. So we would think logically that two Belgian horses in a yoke could pull about 16,000 pounds. But the truth is that together they can pull about 25,000 pounds, and with a little training, they will go to nearly 32,000 pounds. That's twice what we could mathematically expect. But that's the incredible power of the mastermind principle. And as usual, before we ask ourselves a couple questions for the direction for today, we'll take one passage from the Bible, from 1 Corinthians chapter 1, verse 10. I appeal to you, brothers, in the name of our Lord Jesus Christ, that all of you agree with one another, so that there may be no divisions among you, and that you may be perfectly united in mind and thought. The questions to provide direction for today and fodder for discussion are: who is in your mastermind group? Who would you like to have in one? And what can you do to initiate that? Well, my friends, I've got some answers and some personal experience with this. So, as I wait for this final vehicle to go by, the first question is, who is in your mastermind? Excuse me. Who is in your mastermind group? Currently, no one. I am not in a mastermind group. And I have a question for you. Have you ever been in a mastermind group? And if so, I would love to hear from you in the Telegram chat, t.me/allaroundgrowth. If you've got the Telegram Messenger app on your phone or computer or tablet, just search for All Around Growth. You can also find a link in the show notes to the group. But I would love to connect with you and hear your experiences about mastermind groups there. And let us know if you've been in one. And if you haven't been in one, the second question is, who would you like to have in one? That is an excellent question. And if you're really not familiar with mastermind groups at all, and the idea of them, you know, Dan referenced Think and Grow Rich. And this book, Rudder of the Day, is an older book. And I believe the Eagles Club that he talked about was about a dozen guys in the Nashville area, Dave Ramsey of which is one. As a matter of fact, I learned about a year or two ago. And I'm not surprised. I believe perhaps Michael Hyatt was another. I don't really know. But been a big fan of Michael Hyatt and his work in terms of productivity and entrepreneurship in the past. But the mastermind group is something that he referenced, or Napoleon Hill referenced, in his book Think and Grow Rich. And Dan talked about the Eagles Club and that dozen guys. And I don't know if that idea morphed into the Eagles community, which is now an online community with events in person, which I am a part of. And we are currently doing a Think and Grow Rich book study monthly with Zoom calls, going through that book chapter by chapter, because there are a dozen chapters to go through, actually 13, but we read the introduction ourselves and jumped into it January on chapter 1. Luckily, I've been able to make some of those Zoom calls, not all of them, but luckily all of them are available for replay. The reason why I'm going on and on and on about the Eagles community is that there are some resources in there as well on forming a mastermind group. And I have yet to explore those personally, because I am not at a point right now where I wish to participate in a mastermind group. But this is a good segue to my past experience with a mastermind group. And this experience was a few years ago, after one of the many conferences that I attended. And there were a lot. Probably a dozen conferences over the course of a few years. And I was trying to connect with everybody, learning everything I could about all the things that interested me with regard to small farming, regenerative farming, permaculture, and how it might apply to the land that I was currently living on, because I saw potential there, and I have the ability to do a lot of things and work it. A lot of my plans went on the back burner as I reprioritized my life, but at that point in time, as I've talked about in the past, I've spent a lot of time, effort, and energy chasing other people's dreams and trying to apply what they were doing in their lives in mine without adjusting the plan according to the context of my life based on what was appropriate. And furthermore, I really went through much of this period of time in life without having much of a plan at all. And that is what, in large part, led to Burnout 2.0 a few years ago after that. The first one being in the corporate world, the second one being in my own personal life, trying to go about making change in a way that was not appropriate for me. So during that time, I was invited to participate in a mastermind group, and initially there were a few of us, and we wanted to grow the group. So we decided that we would invite some people who might be a good fit. And there was one individual that I had recently met at a conference who was quite the go-getter, and also a little bit of a contrast in personality than the rest of the group and the ones who invited me in. Perhaps a contrast in personality to me, but I was less interested in his personality than what he had already done in life and the results that he had already delivered. Those were kind of speaking for themselves as far as I was concerned. But we had a couple of meetings, a couple of conference calls, and the group just kind of faded away and it fell apart. And I'll be honest with you, I don't really remember why. And I'm certainly not talking poorly about the ones who coordinated or organized the call, or the group rather. Not at all. But what happened, as far as I can remember, is that in order to provide some structure to what we were doing, I believe we had referenced some materials on how to, how to form a mastermind and how to utilize the framework. perhaps from here. I don't remember, from Napoleon Hill's book. And some people were on board with that, some people weren't. And in my opinion, because we could never come to a consensus about how we were going to talk about things, we ended up no longer talking about things. And in the Eagles Club that Dan mentioned here, it sounds like they were involved in a book study, and they had a framework for what they were doing, with each person leading the discussion each week or each month or whatever the frequency was. And that is likely in part what contributed to the success of that group. So I think as I get to concluding my thoughts here on masterminds is, I think the mastermind principle is a wonderful principle, and I think the analogy that Dan used with the draft horse and the team is, I think that speaks for itself. You know, we can't do things ourselves. There's this lone wolf idea a lot in life, that we're just going to go it alone and forge ahead by ourselves, and you can. And I tried, and I made myself miserable. So it's important to communicate with and collaborate with others if you truly want to succeed, and to learn how to do so better and more effectively is where the 48 Days Eagles community comes in for me. I've found that over the years I've tried to engage in personal growth and development in many ways, in many facets of my life, physically, mentally, spiritually, emotionally, with my work and career. And I've been able to do a pretty good job most of the time. But I know I can always do better. I know I can always improve. And that's what the group is about for me. Helping me do better, helping me improve, helping me learn and equip myself with tools and surround myself with people that I normally wouldn't be surrounding myself with. So that's it, guys. Check out the show notes for more. I'm going to link to as much as I possibly can in the show notes that I can remember when I get into the office, because I'm at the day job, and I like to focus on my day job as much as possible while I'm there. I don't necessarily mind, nor do I think anyone else would mind, the few minutes that I spend assembling and uploading the show. So check it out. Share everything you can if you like what you hear with people that you think might enjoy the content as well. And with that, guys, that's it for today. Look forward to seeing you on the next podcast. And also check out the group, Telegram, t.me/allaroundgrowth. And if you've got it on your phone, tablet, or computer already, search All Around Growth, connect with us there, join in the chat. It's great. You'll find people just like you. You'll learn you're not alone, and it's a good time. We're all just walking each other home, and that's a good place to do it. All right, guys, have a great day. Happy Wednesday. We'll see you tomorrow.